I'm going to be showing you how I made this cutting board out of Bolivian rosewood and maple in roughly an hour, not including the glue time. And the best part is you don't need a shop full of tools. All I used was a miter saw, some clamps, and wood glue. And then if you have a router, there's some extra stuff you can do to pretty it up. But yeah, let's get into it. Before we cut anything, let's talk about design. I want these to be roughly 12.5 by 18 inches. To keep this simple, we're going to be using S4S rosewood and maple. So first off, we got to square off the ends of our S4S board just to make sure that it is completely square. And when you pick out your boards, try to get them in the width that you want according to your design. You know, I wanted it to be rosewood, maple, rosewood with a thicker maple midsection. So I got 2 thinner things of rosewood and 1 thick piece of maple. And then to make this measurement, I'm gonna use 18 inches. And I know that that maple board is about 5.5 inches wide, and that'll be my middle piece. So I'm gonna do one 18-inch section of that. And then for the rosewood, it's about 3.5, which will take up the sides. So I'm gonna do 2 18 inches of that so that I can do that rosewood, maple, rosewood look that I'm going for. After you have your measurements done, it is time to start cutting it on the miter saw. If you have a stop block for your miter saw, this would be a great place to use that. I do not, so I'm just gonna make sure that I cut on the waist side of the line. And to make sure that I do that, I like to add little X's on whatever side is gonna be the waist side, and then make sure that the kerf of my blade is really only going into that side and that my line is just barely kissing where that blade's coming down. After you get your cuts done, you're going to want to give them a quick wipe down and then lay them out with the grain how you're going to want them. Personally, I'm thinking of doing this. Then what we're going to do is set up the clamps to get these ready to be glued up. Glue them, let them sit for about 2 hours. And then if you have a router, we'll be doing something extra to make it a little bit nicer. If you don't have one, you don't need one. You just need a cutting board and you'll have one after this step. But if you do have a router, stick around. We will be chamfering the top and using a Roman EG bit, I don't know how to say it, on the bottom. So yeah, let's get these clamped up and glued. I'm gonna be using Titebond III to glue this. I just think that it is a great glue for cutting boards because I believe it's pretty food safe and also waterproof. So yeah, I like to use Titebond III. And then for the clamps, I just got some cheap parallel clamps from Harbor Freight as well as some cheap little quick clamps from them. And they're a lot less expensive than other ones I've seen on the market, and they haven't really failed me yet. So if you need some cheap clamps, I'd recommend those. When you're gluing up, try to make sure that the top surface is as flat as possible. If it isn't that flat, you're gonna have a lot of sanding in your future. A lot of people like to clamp the boards both horizontally and vertically to ensure that they stay lined up. Wipe off the excess glue or else, again, you're gonna be sanding forever, which is not as fun as putting oil on the board and finishing it. All right, the cutting board is ready to come out of the clamp, so let's get it out and then we'll get to sanding. All right, if you do not have a router and you finished sanding, then you're good to wipe it off, oil it up, and call it a day. That would be a cutting board. Good thickness, good size, and it looks good. If you do have a router, we're gonna go ahead and use the Roman OG bit on the bottom and then a chamfer on top, just to give it a little more pizzazz, a little more spice. All right, we got the board chamfered down and Roman OG'd on the side. Looking a lot better now. We're going to throw some oil on it and see what it's gonna look like when it's done. And then as a quick side note, you do wanna sand it when you're done routing, especially where there's burn marks. I didn't just because this is a personal board, but if you want it to look pretty, make sure that you do sand it. And if you enjoyed the video, please do go ahead and subscribe and like. It helps me out, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. Bye.